Anything you want to say, babes?
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me. Team that's come together, and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that I'm going to justify your effort, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And once I get back on my feet, we're going to justify all this. Make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge party.
Oh, suck it now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't, you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dogs yet, you will be. Because I'm Swede and I'm here to help you get busy living. What's that? For me, that's one epic adventure every single month for the next 45 months total. For the grand total, we've got 16, 17, this will be month 18 in February. That means 37 more months of getting busy living for me. But for you, it's about learning to have a purposeful, deliberate, intentional approach towards life. Have you ever had someone you wanted to put Nair in their shampoo bottle? That you wanted to get revenge on them so bad you were just daydreaming about the sound of the screams as they realized their precious Goldilocks were falling out in the shower? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I would never do that because, like my dog Darren says, the best revenge is to live a good life. And tonight we're here to help you get busier living by learning how to rise above revenge. But first, since nothing is worth having, if it ain't worth sharing, please help me welcome to the stage the dynamic out of Los Angeles, D Rex.
I'm in jail.
D Rex, tell them what you're coming with.
Oh gosh, well, I had some Wi-Fi issues, so I ran out of there as quickly as I could to get into any situation that I could. So here we are in jail. So hopefully you can excuse any extra noise or weird lighting issues because we're just going. We are just going. That's what we do. We are the steamroller of fun. Isn't that what I call us?
Hell yeah, I have heard you say that many of a time. As a matter of fact, though, D Rex, it is a bit tough to hear you, so I'm not sure what the mic situation is. When we checked it a minute ago, I could hear you a little bit clearer than what I can hear you now. So I don't know if you made an adjustment.
No, I didn't change anything, but let me see what I can. And how is that?
It's about the same. It is a little bit muffled, but like you said, we are the steamroller. We've been through it all. We've been locked out. We've been locked down. We've been sicked out, sick down, stuck out. I mean, seriously, we've done shows from the van. We've done shows from the road. And so we're still going to get busy living one way or another. And this week, I'm really excited, honestly, about the episode this week. So each week we try to bring you guys a clip from the book, The Life in a Year of Swedism's book, which is our offer to you. And it's an effort to do a little bit of fundraising so that we can make an impact in more ways than one. So this week, the ism out of The Life in a Year of Swedism's book comes from February 10th, 2012, said the definition of living life half-ass is choosing not to turn the other cheek. Revenge is a shameful motive pioneered by the weak. If someone screws you over, don't worry about payback. Karma will see to it they get theirs, and that's a fact. And so the first 1,000 donors, meaning the first 1,000 people to reserve a copy of The Life in a Year of Swedism's book, will be entered into a raffle to get a 6-night, 7-day airfare included, all expense paid guided tour with it, Adventures Alaska's Scooty Wells. So you can go to the hswa.org and click on about and go to the raffle page to get more information about that. And the proceeds from the book of the donations are going to afford us the ability to help send Schaefer to receive a life-changing stem cell therapy. So please go to the HSWA, reserve your copy, get entered into the raffle, and you're going to get the book will come at you once we get 1,000. And so D-Rex, this particular passage, about turning the other cheek.
It's something. Oh, go ahead. And is my sound any better right now?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's
okay.
good.
Okay, great. Go ahead then.
No, I was just saying. So what we do is we go over the different entries into the book and look for ones that we feel are especially relevant or that we can speak on. And when this one came up about karma and revenge and turning the other cheek, I know that I've had my share of moments in life where I wanted to exact revenge, and it feels like I've had moments in life where the universe has exacted revenge upon me. So how do you feel about revenge and when it comes to karma and the oppositions?
Well, I was raised Methodist. I was raised in the church and as a Christian. And it's actually one of the key principles is that you should take the high road. And I suppose that makes me kind of like trained in it, because I've always tried to choose that. But, there's always moments where you feel like somebody did you wrong. You want them to hurt as much as you do, or as you did. And if you don't make them hurt the way that you did, then you're somehow letting them get away with it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with when we're talking about this is if the other person doesn't hurt or doesn't feel remorse or guilt, are you somehow saying, oh yeah, everything you did was fine, you know? And moving past that and just letting it be is very difficult sometimes for us human beings.
I couldn't agree more. I just want to say what up to my people in the comments. Let us know where you're coming at us from. What's up to the Kelly Podolsky? Love to see you. Hojo, Prez Rocky's in the house. I see you too. I see you. I see you. And I like Kelly's talking about amen. It is actually that quote, and I've got a little quip here. So this turn the other cheek.
Swede, before you even start, let's just talk for a second about how we've been friends since we were like 14 or 15. And from where we came from, for us to be sitting here 30 some years later, quoting a Bible verse over the internet together, I mean, there's something pretty rich about that.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. It just goes to show that it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. Because neither of us would be accused of ushering too many people through the doors of a church. Not that we're not that we're like devilish people, but just hasn't been.
And we're not anti-religion either.
Not at
It
all.
just hasn't been a focus of our life. And to think of us two as 14-year-olds thinking about the future, and here we are talking about the Bible over the internet. In fact, we wouldn't even known what the internet was. So
I know, right?
let's move on. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, I was just saying that, because the thing is that I think that what this is a testament to is, first of all, that you don't have to be devout to be able to live according to the principles that are taught in the Bible. A lot of the principles that are taught in the Bible are taught in a lot of the other major texts, and so it just goes to show that we're living, righteously is not necessarily a specific religion that brings us there. Righteousness, virtues transcend religion, and
that is true.
So this turn the other cheek, it's that the term turn the other cheek, which we're talking about it because it was just something that was in that Swedism post, comes from this passage out of the Bible where Jesus said, "You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth." And this is a revenge motive, like if somebody does something to you, do it back to them, But Jesus says, "But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." So it's saying, don't try to get revenge. Another passage that this or another passage out of the Bible that kind of revolves around this is where they talk about the earth shall be inherited by the meek, and talking about how it's about being humble you know, and it's about having the wherewithal to understand that it's not about, um, you know, getting back at someone when they've done something wrong to you. It's about, you know, the more righteous and the more worthwhile method about handling these types of situations, you know, is being the bigger person. You know, it's not saying make yourself vulnerable, like, oh, they hit me, come on, continue hitting me. It's not about that, even though, you know, it kind of literally might read that way. It's not asking for more. It's just, it's rather than doing to them what they've done to you, it's showing them that you're strong enough um, to allow them to do it more if they feel so inclined.
And I think what that is saying is that it leads to the person who's doing the hurting, it leads them toward accountability. Because sometimes when people are fighting back, you sometimes feel that you have the right to keep fighting. And that's actually why I truly believe in this concept, because I think that once you attack back, then that person can say, well, you've attacked me and I've got to defend myself. And it becomes this repeating cycle. And I think it's important to allow a person to make multiple wrong decisions sometimes so that they can become accountable to their wrong decisions, so they can see it for themselves and recognize it.
Interesting. Yeah. I hadn't thought of it in that light before. But you're right. It's kind of like, you know, revenge is there's so many aspects of revenge that take away from, you know, the type of lifestyle that we're trying to encourage here. You know, revenge if you are the type of person that is caught up in exacting revenge, it can be it can damage your life in so many different ways. I mean, you know, like, for example, there's this cycle of retaliation. If no one rises above, it's so easy to destroy and tear down. And if you're caught in this cycle of retaliating and getting revenge, then, you know, where does it stop? Where does it end? When do you stop tearing down and start rebuilding? You know, so what we're going to talk about today is different aspects of revenge and how it is damaged and how, you know, how it's dangerous, and then how compassion can come into play and help you to understand how to counteract revenge, like what emotion you can fill yourself with in order to not feel so tempted by revenge. And then we'll talk about karma, like it says in that Swedism, that karma will see to it, you know, because if you are the type of person that turns towards revenge and does not enact compassion, there's ancient wisdom that says you'll learn your lesson in the long run, you know. So it's better that you just learn your lesson today with us if you're not already in that frame of mind. And what's funny about your comment about how ironic it is that, you know, when we met 30 years ago, would we ever saw ourselves promoting, you know, the Bible on the internet? My sister, she said, Holly and I drove by a church in Erie I remember going to with you. So I got a funny story about church. Back when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, I was at a friend's house, just somebody from the neighborhood. Actually, no, it was my cousin's house. And it was Sunday morning, and they were all getting ready to go to church. And I didn't know that any of my family friends went to church. I'd never been to church. And they were like, well, if you come to church with us, they give you a cookie when you get on the bus, and they give you a cookie on the ride home on the bus. And I was like, a cookie?
Yeah, I mean, treats were hard to come by when you don't have much cash.
I just got on and went to church with them, and sure enough, they gave us a cookie on the ride to church, and they gave us a cookie on the ride home, and they passed out this, like, everybody got a sheet of paper that had scriptures on it, and they told us, and they gave everyone that recited the scripture from last week another cookie. So it's like 3 cookies. So I started going to this church every Sunday. I had them turn and come to my house and pick me up on Sunday mornings because I wanted that cookie. And if you memorize the scripture, you got an extra cookie. And of course, I was memorizing that scripture just for that extra cookie.
Do you remember any of them? Do you remember any of those scriptures?
Not a single one. And I mean, for those of you out there that are part of our audience that have hit me up on my direct messages and encouraged me to find Jesus and to pray, I find Jesus to be very intriguing, and I pray in my own way. I do believe in higher power and spirituality and so on and so forth. I'm very much in favor of anyone finding the righteous way, whether it's Jesus or Allah or however it may be, whatever has you, behaving properly and acting righteously, I'm all for it. And Kelly's like, she said, the one on Liberty. Yeah, exactly. 29th and Liberty, the Wesleyan Methodist Church was the name of that church.
The Cookie Church. We call it the Cookie Church.
The Cookie Church. What's funny is I ended up, not only did I really fall in love with, I fell in love with all of it. I really did. I mean, I went to that church religiously for the next 4 years.
No pun intended.
I know. In fact, so much so that when I was 11 years old, I was learning how to play saxophone over at East Middle School. What was that school? Wayne Middle School. I was playing sax there, and they let me, or they didn't let me, but they requested that anyone that was in attendance at the church that wanted to, that had any kind of singing or music skills, was invited to be a part of their Christmas mass. And so one of the people that was there, that just kind of took me under her wing, like there was this couple there that really embraced me and loved me, and like they would come and pick me up and take me to their house on the weekends sometimes, and they didn't have a TV.
So nice.
We would just sit there and they would talk to me about Jesus, and they would read to me, and we would just go for walks and talking. I mean, they were very much trying to save me. And I loved going there just because of the how much love that they showed me. And there was adults that wanted to pay attention to me, which wasn't happening at the house. But so when they they knew that I was learning how to play the saxophone, and they invited me to be a part of this Christmas mass. I went to the teacher at Wayne Middle School and told him that I had been invited to do this, and he gave me the music to Silent Night, and I ended up playing Silent Night at that Christmas mass on the saxophone in front of hundreds of people. It was the first time I ever did any kind of public performance.
That's great. You have any pictures from it?
The only picture I have of me that is before 2000 or before high school. No, I don't have any pictures of me before high school.
Oh, that's crazy.
I think I might have one. I think somebody sent me one. Somebody, after I got injured, somebody from Kane, the town that I was born in, sent me a picture of me and my 2 sisters and my brother from when we were like, I think my youngest sister was like 3 in this picture, and I'm like 7 or 8. But other than that, I don't have anything from my childhood. Nothing. Wow. Like when I'm after graduation, I tried to move to Wisconsin with my mom. Didn't work. Came back. Lyric was conceived the day that I got back, and then a year later, I moved to Indiana. And when I moved to Indiana with my mom, I left a lot of my stuff with my Grams. Everything that I had that was basically, I think I brought my yearbook and stuff like that with me, but I left all of my art and everything like that, all the drawings and stuff that I had done when I was a kid. I left all that behind at Graham's house. Graham's ended up moving to Kane at that same time, and then had a stroke shortly after, and went into a nursing facility, and then didn't end up living very long after that. So I don't have anything from my childhood. I mean,
wow.
Literally nothing. I don't have any proof that I was ever good at art. I don't have any of the if you remember going to my bedroom when I was in high school, I have stuff all around my room that was like memorabilia stuff like that. Like I remember when we had a pep rally senior year, and I ended up like jumping off the stage and like crowd surfing at that pep rally. And there was this rubber chicken that somebody brought to the pep rally. I bet somebody somewhere knows where that rubber chicken is.
Yeah.
It got torn to shreds at the pep rally, and I had the leg of that chicken. And that is just one example of tons of different things that I had accumulated throughout my high school years that I had kind of like this memorabilia, like display in my bedroom. And I don't have any of that stuff now. I wish I did, man. I mean, we're far away from revenge at this point, but I mean,
Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to reel it back in.
well, I was just talking about that church because that, I mean, you know, these concepts that we're talking about, they do have, you know, some references in the Bible that support these theories, but you don't have to be very devout religiously to believe and understand how revenge can be timed.
You don't have to be religious at all. You know, I think that anybody who has ever had a gut feeling knows the difference between, and there's sirens, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. Anybody who has even one gut feeling about whether something's right or wrong knows that a whole bunch of stuff is right or wrong without anybody and anything telling them so. I think there's a lot to our human experience that we actually are ignoring, just our sensory perceptions of things. When it comes to our morality and our judgments. And I mean, honestly, does it seem to you, it seems to me that it's getting worse. You know, we have people who sling all sorts of cruel words over the internet on a daily basis with, there's no repercussions to it because they just fling them out there and they move on. The way that society is right now allows for a lot more cruelty to just be thrown around casually. And you know that people know deep down it's not right. They know, they must know, but they're ignoring it. And they can ignore it because there's so many other things to do and look at and occupy yourself with. We used to have to sit with ourselves in silence, you know, and that's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah, that's true. It's so easy to distract ourselves these days and ignore it, but it takes an emotional toll. You know, when we have constant anger and resentment and a desire for payback, it leads to stress. It gives you anxiety and depression. And these things, to me, okay, so we've talked about how revenge, compassion is an emotion that can help you curtail revenge and distract you from it. And karma is kind of like this bigger than you force that the universe seems to be able to enact. You know, that can help you. The fear of karma can help you. You know, can talk you out of the revenge factor. But the truth is that, you know, I have my theories about karma.
I was going to ask you if you believe in it.
Well, yes, I believe in it, and here's why. It's not because I'm God-fearing, so to speak, where I behave in a certain manner because I don't want to go to hell. And I don't fear karma because I think that doing bad things means the universe in some way is going to pull a string. Like there's a master puppeteer that's going to have something happen to me. I believe karma works a little bit differently. In my brain, in my mind, how I believe karma works in the universe is it's not necessarily that when you do something bad externally, something bad will happen to you externally. I believe that when you are the type of person that behaves negatively in any way, shape, or form, you know in your brain that you're that kind of person. So I believe that when you are a righteous individual and bad things happen to you, you in your heart know that you're righteous. You know that you don't deserve these bad things, so they don't weigh on your brain, right? But when you are the type of person that deserves it, and bad things happen to you, you're like, oh, I deserve that. To me, That's karma. That's you feeling like you deserve bad things when they happen to you, or feeling like you don't deserve bad things when they happen to you and they don't land on you as hard. And you do deserve good things. So when you are the type of person that feels in your heart that you deserve good things to happen to you, and good things then do happen to you, that's good karma coming back around. I don't necessarily believe that it's external. I believe that it's in our heads. To me, karma is more about your conscience than it is about any kind of external force. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I actually even have a different view than that. I do believe that karma, it is external, but not in the way that it's supposed to be. Um, to me, karma happens because if you're walking around doing things you shouldn't do, that means that you're causing pain out in the world. And eventually, that pain is going to come back to you in the form of um, revenge or bad energy or lost opportunities. And that's the karma. It's not from something out in the universe that says good, bad, It's just that energy coming back to you.
Yeah, and I believe that also. And I didn't believe it as much as I do now. And I give you credit for that. This almost 2 years ago, we were having a conversation somewhat like this, and you were like, no, I think that there's more to it, just like you just described, and encouraged me to tune into the potential or the possibility. And since then, I've noticed, that there have been there's been times when the universe seems to be uh, rewarding good deeds, and so I think that there's some truth to that too, and we've touched on this in so many different ways in the past about how, if you believe good things, I mean, it's about your belief. If you believe you're a bad person, then bad things are probably going to happen to you. I mean, there's so much to be said about that mysterious force in the universe that seems to be enacting, these things. And that's,
So I think that's actually 3 different viewpoints right now. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if there's even more. And if you're watching and you have your own ideas about karma, definitely put those in the comments. We love to react to the comments.
Yeah, and Kelly's talking about kind of, I mean, I think that's the most basic, not basic, but the most common conception of karma is, what goes around comes around, like what Kelly's talking about here. And for me, I mean, I've spent a lot of time, now that I'm reading this You Are the Placebo book by Joe Dispenza, and he's talking about how the placebo works because we believe that we've taken medication, and we think that the medication makes us feel better. And it turns out half the time we didn't even take real medication. We were given a fake medication, and yet we still heal as though given the medication. And he has all of these different experiments that he's done that prove how placebos can work. And it's about the belief that we're going to heal that seems to be healing us. And it's amazing. And that's why, I'm not really sure. Nobody is sure. I mean, it's the ongoing question, in the universe is there an intelligent designer that is pulling all of these strings?
It's funny how we just keep coming back to this. I think we're going to end up priests after we're done with this podcast.
Well,
what's funny? Like you were saying, that placebo effect. What if we could use the placebo effect on ourselves to get over the anger that someone caused us? What if we could use that to get ourselves to forgive or at least forget, or at least just allow it to happen and move on. I wonder if there's something about that, getting yourself to believe that it's okay through repetition or through simply believing that it is possible. Didn't you have a whole bunch of things you want to talk about, like how to be able to turn the other cheek and move on?
Well, just talking about, first of all, why revenge is a bad idea. Like I've already talked about the
Okay.
emotional toll,
Mhm.
and the how retaliation can just be an ongoing waste of time. But you're damaging relationships, and you really, a lot of times you can't get that back. There can be legal consequences when revenge is a part of how you handle situations, and you also, if you allow revenge to be a part of how you behave, it affects. I mean, there's a loss of empathy, and that just, to me, that's your conscience again. Like I said, I believe that it's about your conscience. If you're the type of person that doesn't let empathy be a part of your decision making process, I think that affects how you feel about yourself. And I think guilt can play a big role in that. And so, yeah, not only talking about how revenge itself can be dangerous, but then how being compassionate can be beneficial. Because revenge fosters bitterness and hostility. But compassion and understanding liberates the spirit. And that is a part of getting busy living. Is not just about it's not just about living and prospering existentially or externally, not existentially but externally, but it's about, on a daily basis, just being able to be happier on a daily basis, just about how you're thinking and the mindset that you have. And that's why we talk about topics like this, because if you don't spend time thinking about these things, if you're just the type of person that just lets life happen to you all the time, unfortunately, life happens and it can be shitty. So we bring these types of things up and bring these to the attention of our audience with the hopes that they'll spend more time thinking about them and consciously, deliberately, and intentionally, bring themselves into a lifestyle that they're proud of. And so when compassion is a part of your tactics for dealing with life rather than revenge, like I already said, it's emotionally liberating. Um, the burden of anger and resentment is heavy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're the type, if you have somebody do something to you that and you choose not to turn the other cheek, and you go in and you put Nair in their shampoo bottle, and then you might get the pleasure of hearing them scream, but then that scream is never going to leave your brain. And then
Mhm.
and then a day or a week or a year or a decade later, something bad happens to you. There's going to be that thought in your head, man, I deserved that because I put Nair in that girl's shampoo bottle.
I think you struggle with that a little bit. You always feel like you deserved certain things. And you know what? I think there's a whole lot of coincidences on this earth, but there is something to be said for putting out as much good energy as you can and as little negative energy as you can. And I even try to absorb some of the blame sometimes, even if I don't deserve it, because it helps me move on. I've actually kind of developed this: when something bad happens to me, or when I have to do something that hurts somebody because it just must be done, I'll just allow myself to say, I am the bad guy. In this situation right now, I'll be the bad guy. Just let me be the bad guy. Because you know how you can fight forever about who's right, who's right. And at a certain point, I just said, okay, I'm going to be okay with, I will take the blame and I'll be the bad guy, even if I knew that I wasn't at fault. And then I would just forgive myself. Don't you wish it was all that easy? But I
If
mean, for me,
only,
it is.
if only. And you said you think I struggle with it. Because I'm so analytical, and I'm just seeking an explanation. And honestly, I sleep pretty well at night. I mean, I don't have a track record of screwing people over. I've just historically not been the kind of person that wants to get over on everyone, And so, but still, there are times when I'm like, man, like, especially when it seems like it's raining and pouring struggle, which I admittedly I'm confronted with a lot more of it, in this current lifestyle that I'm dealing with. And I know a lot of it is just happenstance, but man, when it just happens so much, like, for example, right before I came to check in for the show and saw that you weren't here, and I wasn't looking at my phone, so I didn't realize that you had texted me. I was in the back with the heater on me because I'm having autonomic. I've got my towel right here, and I'm like fighting this feeling right here. And some days it's one thing after another. And so when I was in there, I was trying to warm up so that I could come here and have a show where I could focus. And right when I was trying to hurry up and get out here, I dropped the hair dryer, and it was wrapped around the leg of my chair. So I'm like backing up and forward and backing up, and I'm like feeling this time crunch coming at me, and I've got autonomic, and I've got my hair dryers running on the floor. So I couldn't just like leave and come in here and let the hair dryer be running. I'd be in there like the carpet would catch on fire. It's like, so when things like that happen. I mean, these are silly examples, but sometimes they're more major. Like I've got burns on my rib cage right now. And sometimes things that happen to me that are only collateral damages from the spinal cord injury, that they seem to pile up. And then when that happens, I mean, it's searching for, we always want to try to apply some sort of reasoning to our lives, and I think that's a part of the human condition. So yeah, I do struggle with it sometimes, but it's not a guilty conscience. It's just a searching for meaning or a cause. Because if you can find the cause, then you can usually root it out and try to fix it, right? So I mean, I think it's a part of that process,
Yeah, as a human, you want things to make sense. You want there to be connections. Otherwise, life is chaos. If there weren't connections and cause and effect, we'd be living in complete chaos constantly, not knowing what to expect. And humans really like to know what's coming up. We don't like chaos. We're always trying to put things in order. And when things seem to not make sense, that makes humans very uncomfortable. So, I mean, that makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm not always searching for an explanation. I mean, for a lot of my daily living, I just accept that things are what they're going to be. And I try to be as good a person as I can, because I do believe that which you give, you get back double. And like I said, I believe that it's on a conscious awareness level. But now the more that I'm learning about the power of our brains and about manifesting and such, the more that I am, I'm starting to believe the formerly unbelievable, and starting to enact a bit of faith in my life that wasn't present before, And it goes back to what it said in that dism, where it says, for the people that are always trying to exact revenge, karma will get them. Don't worry about getting people back. Their conscience will kill them in the long run.
And that's the most internal karma of them all, right? When you hurt people and knowingly, and you don't apologize and you don't try to make it right, that will just eat you alive for the rest of your life. So that's another form of karma.
For sure. And part of what you can do if you want to make some deposits into the karma bank. by getting yourself a copy of The Life and the Year of Swedism's book. My man Shaker here deserves it. He works his tail off, guys. Go to hswa.org. Get a copy of The Life and the Year of Swede.
Ain't nothing coming easy my way. And I know I'm fucking weird, but it's fucking work, but it's fucking work. You can see it when you see me, but you gotta believe it. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. See it when you see me, but you gotta believe it. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. And I know I'm fucking weird, but it's fucking work, but it's fucking work. You can see it when you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. I know I fucking work for this.
Definitely got to get that cleaned up. But that's just an example of a way that you can, do something good, make a positive impact, help us get Schaefer down to Panama. And it's all in an effort for me to repay the debt of human kindness that was bestowed upon me. I'm so thankful to be here and so grateful. And I look forward to the day that I can look across the table at all the other people, or across the room, or across the stadium at all the other people, and say, look at what we've done here. Look at how many other people that we've helped. And it all started just when I was in need and I needed it. And I'm really dedicated to collecting generosity. And as I'm looking here at the notes I took about how in my research, all of the different ways that compassion helps. One of the ways is it contributes to a harmonious community. And how many times have we talked about community in the past?
I mean, that's what this entire podcast is about, basically. When you're getting busy living, you are interacting with and or forming communities. It's all life is about, community.
Yeah, and with considering karma as a philosophy to enact, I think it's important to know that karma has been around longer than. I mean, it essentially is it's the root of religion in so many ways. Like the concept of karma comes from ancient Indian scriptures, known as the Vedas, over 3,000 years old, older than the Bible, and there's lots of schools of thought out there that talk about, when human beings, when we were first organizing our language and able to write things down, karma was one of the original concepts that we were keeping track of and teaching our children about, and so I got a note here. Karma is a concept rooted in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Indian religions, describing the cosmic law of cause and effect, where one's actions, both good and bad, influence their future experiences and circumstances. Emphasizes the idea that moral quality of one's deeds determines their destiny, shaping the course of their life and eventual rebirths in the cycle of reincarnation. So how do you feel about reincarnation?
I mean, the thing is, you read enough stories of little kids recounting their previous lives where you just can't deny that that's the thing. I'm not going to say reincarnation is not a thing, because there's been too many stories of that.
Yeah. Well, don't go saying that, because according to Kelly, we would both be awesome preachers. And speaking of awesome preachers, we got a little Bizzy.
We got a real one. We got a real preacher here. Maybe she should come on and preach a bit.
It's time for us to get her back on. That's for real.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
And Kelly is talking again about being a huge fan of cause and effect. Yeah, it's worth it to be mindful of how you're behaving. That what you give, you'll come back. Whether it comes back literally, it's rare that what you do exactly comes back to you. If you slap somebody, it's rare that you also get slapped.
I would say it doesn't ever happen that way. It's really not an eye for an eye or tooth for tooth, unless it's human inflicted.
Yeah, I think that's where. Can you imagine if it did work that way? That wouldn't be. But you know, and another thing here that I've got is the concept of karma fundamentally in opposition to the concept of revenge, as it promotes a cycle of positive actions and consequences rather than a cycle of retaliation. And if you believe that what you give, you get back double, isn't your life incentivized to go off and do a lot more great things? You know, I mean, that really drives me. It really does. And when I'm having really, really really shitty days, the especially, you know, this is something I've been more familiar with, just because, you know, this injury does make for more challenges, you know, and I've had more days in the past, you know, 6 months where I was literally ready to pull my hair out than I did my entire life leading up to that. And that's through, you know, raising a child and experiencing a divorce and all the debaucheries and turmoil that comes with, you know, generational poverty. I'm telling you that nothing in my life was ever compared to the amount of troubles and compromising situations I've had, you know, with this injury. And I'm constantly confronted with days that are just like, it seems like it'll never end. And when I feel like that, I've so many times recently where I've been like, all right, I'm obviously not going to win today, so I would just look for somebody else to try to cheer up. And trying to cheer other people up cheers me up. Trying to do something nice or good for other people works. So if you ever get a text message from me, and if you're in the audience, whether you're live now or you're hearing this later, I guarantee there's probably 200 people that can raise their hand and say, yep, I've gotten one of those. If you get a text from me that says smile, I'm probably having a shitty day.
And, you know, also, it's not just people too. Like, if you can help animals in some way, I find that's a real boost.
Yeah. Wow. So I've been working on getting a canine companion.
How's it going?
This application process is pretty extensive amongst all the other worthwhile things that I find myself doing. And, you know, after having Caro and Nacho here and seeing how much joy, it's the first time I've had, you know, first time I've had a dog in my house. Not the first time, because I live with Ruger and that was Jay's dog. And I saw how much he, you know, brought her joy. But I mean, I had Caro and Nacho here. I mean, I just lived with Ruger for a month and a half or so. Having Caro and Nacho here for like 6 months, really, and walking him. And that's not something I did with Ruger, but I would walk with Caro and walk with Nacho. And I did cross country road trips with this guy. You know, I've seen how much having a pet brings joy, you know, like petting the animal and just bringing that animal joy. It works. You know, I can appreciate that. And I can't say that I could appreciate that before. Kelly said, remember Ninja? That was my first love when it comes to pets. I think I've talked about Ninja before. Yes, I remember Ninja.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you're struggling with anger about something or sadness and you need to move on, it's certainly a worthwhile place to put your energies into animals, whether it's just your own pet or helping animals in some way. It's a true distraction that is very rewarding.
You know, I know that you're maybe one of the greatest pet rescuers of all time with the work you put in with the kitties.
No, I'm not.
Can you
I'm a simpleton when it comes to that.
I think you're modest. How many kittens have you rescued in the past few years?
Well, in the past few years, I don't know. I think maybe about 8 cycle through my house every year. So, I mean, I don't think it's that many. Many people do much more than that. But 8 kittens a year is kind of on the high end. Sometimes it'll be 4. One time I had 4 kittens in my house, and they weren't normal kittens. They had that wild look to them. Like they looked like little tigers. They had the wild stripes. I forget what kind of animal, what kind of cat that is, but they were mixed with that kind of cat. I'd find those kittens like on top of my curtains, like on top of doors. And even though they were crazy, what it did was it directed my attention towards something outside of me, outside of my thoughts. It allows me to get out of my thoughts and put them somewhere else. And that's another great thing about animals. So, if you're struggling with some sort of dark thought, whether it's just being hurt or mad, or something worse like revenge, it can definitely help to get out of your head. One of my friends calls it fur magic. She wrote on Facebook the other day, "I'm sad, but at least I have fur magic," because she has several cats to sit on her and make her happy.
What an interesting concept. Can you think of in all of your rescues and the people that you've been able to gift into their lives with a kitten and a little ball of somewhere you can direct your love and somewhere that can be a source of love, right? Can you think of anyone whose lives have been really, I mean, I'm sure they're all of their lives have been impacted, but is there ever been anyone that's come back to you and said, just raved about the impact that it's made on their lives?
Well, everybody loves their animals. They just do. But there's one in particular. Just recently, she adopted my orange kitten. His name was Fingas, the interstellar biscuit making feller. And we shortened it to Biscuit, the interstellar biscuit making feller, which isn't that much shorter. No. She adopted this kitten, and her and her boyfriend did a JCPenney's photo shoot for Christmas with this kitten. And it went viral on the internet, so much that JCPenney's reached out and offered to do a free Valentine's Day shoot for them, which they just finished. And it was a
no way.
Day. And I think maybe I'll share it on this podcast when we get the pictures back. But they text me all the time, all these interesting things about their famous kitten. But some people, it's just as simple as they're now receiving much more love than they had before. And everybody feels that way.
Sitting here thinking about this, I think you might be onto something. Part of my reluctancy in the past about pets has been that you can't give them back. Like, what if animals and kids, people are the same. Like, we're born with a disposition, right? Mm-hmm. And so what if you adopt a pet that looks so cute when you adopted them, but they just grow up with this disposition that isn't so cute after all?
This happens all the time to people.
Hard to you can't just trade your pet in. It's your pet, right? So, but what you're doing is because we all love puppies and kittens. We don't all love dogs and cats, but we all love puppies and kittens. So it's like you're hacking the system here with your little kitten exchange. You're like getting them at their best when they're innocent, and it's easy to not be mad at them. And if you do get too mad at them, you're just giving them away anyway soon.
Well, I didn't mean to derail this conversation we were having about karma and such, but here's the thing about animals is when you find a damaged, angry, reactive animal, it's usually because of something that happened in their childhood. And so animals get trauma too, and they have trauma responses. And that's where you get animals dogs who bark at every passing dog, or lunge at you, or want to bite, or are scared, or cats that pee everywhere. Now, I'm not saying all peeing cats, that's a trauma response. Sometimes cats just pee. That's not great. But, well, what I'm saying is that sometimes you see trauma responses in animals, but when you get them as babies, like kittens, and you can hand raise them, and you can teach them certain mannerisms, and that certain things mean certain things, and they grow up with this safety and this love and being handled and touched all the time, you generally get better cats out of that. So I feel very confident when I pass these kittens along to somebody, like, here, you're getting a very special, well-handled animal.
Wow. I like that. Kelly's talking about, well, she's had one, and then referring to you about figuring them out. But
Yeah.
actually, taking a little bit of a step back here, Uzi has a nice comment here.
Yes, let's get back to the subject here.
Yeah, talking about faith and karma, and trying to behave in a manner that will bring to you the most positivity. It's talking about faith. I got a friend that says letting go of anger or resentments takes faith. Find another individual to help, is what she says here. Find another individual to help.
As long as that other individual doesn't want to fight.
I think she's referring to when I was talking a minute ago about when I'm having the hardest days, is that's when I'm like, man, I can't, paying too much attention to the results I'm getting is so destructive sometimes. That's when I choose to try to just give someone else better results rather than worrying about the results I'm getting.
Yeah.
There's power and strength in that.
And I feel like there's going to be karma in that too, because somebody else, when they're having a bad day, is going to reach out to you and make your day brighter. And that's how your karma is going to come back.
Yeah, I really feel it's overwhelming when I think about the fact that, man, I chased a monkey 6 years ago, and that could have been it for me. And thank God, and thank you in the audience, all of you, and thank you that are watching live now, and anyone that will watch live or that will listen, on demand later. It's hard to wrap my head around it, honestly, but I'm just so extremely grateful, and that's why I feel so motivated to do this. And karma is doing unto others as you would have others do unto you. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to take what has already been done unto me and perpetuate it forward. And so I'm encouraging any of you that are watching or listening, to be proactive. That which you give, you get back double. I don't have any doubts in my mind about that. And when you look at the Life in a Year of Swedism's book, you're going to notice a recurring theme in this book. How often I was talking about doing unto others, and that which you give, you'll get back double. And I think that it is somewhat poetic that all of that talking I was doing got to a point where the proof presented itself. That I was proactively trying to preach about helping others and not being so selfish and materialistic. And then I wasn't materialistic. I wasn't worried about saving, accumulating a great deal of wealth. And then when I needed it, it was there for me. And so I'm just going to encourage everyone to make deposits in the Karma Bank. And one last thing that I'm going to encourage you to be able to do that. One other way to be able to do that. Oh, Sookie now. Schaefer Squad merch is here. Show your support. Go to the hswa.org and click on the menu dots where you'll find the donate tab that leads to the Schaefer Squad merch link. Scroll past the greeting to find our wide range of Schaefer Squad merch, from adult tees, kid tees, onesies, and beanies for the babies, adult hoodies, hats and kicks, an apron for the cook, a hoodie for the pet, and a puzzle for the family. All prices include the outrageous cost of shipping, and all proceeds go toward helping Schaefer get a potentially life-changing stem cell treatment. And this just in, check out the new Schaefer Squad scarf coming soon to a viral video near you. You gotta believe. And always remember, we're all in this together.
You can see it when you see me, but you gotta believe me. Ain't nothing coming easy my way. No, I work for this.
That one's a little bit cleaner. So if you want to make a deposit in the Karma Bank, go to the hswa.org, get you some Schaefer Squad gear. I love this. Is my favorite hoodie, man. I wear it every day. And I just want to go back into the comments and yeah, Boozy. I like to think so. And then Kelly said, God is good. And with that, D Rex, I want to say thank you for once again making it. I know that there was some paranoia and there was some scrambling there at the end. I appreciate you doing everything that you could do to get here. Every week you're here for me. You rise just like the sun every week for me, and I appreciate that.
Well, thanks. It's really great to be here. Every week is something special for me too. So thanks for everybody who showed up in the comments. It was really great chatting with everybody. Please come back next week. What about next week?
So next week, it's about actions speaking louder. It's not about how old you are. It's about how you act. And we're going to talk about the prejudice that comes with the different demographics. You know, the boomers feel a certain way about the Gen Zers, and the Gen Xers feel a certain way about the millennials. You know, and it's not really about how old you are. It's about how you act. And there are patterns of behavior based on how the times happen. But we're going to talk about that and so much more based on one of the isms that pops up in the Life and Year of Swedisms book. So come back next week. Every Thursday, we're here. And do your move, D-Rex. Make a smile. All right. And so with that, always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Ha ha.
But you gotta believe